What's going on, everyone? In today's video, I'm going to share with you some books that I've sold during the college textbook season. As of the recording of this video, we are almost right in the middle of this season. It's January 13th. It's 12:19 a.m. in the morning. Yeah, that's when I basically make YouTube videos when my son's asleep, when my wife is asleep. That's when I like to, create content. That's when I like to purchase books. And really what we're going to see is that if you put in the work before the season, when the season rolls around, there's not too much to do because that's when the book starts selling and that's when you really start to reap your rewards. So let's dive on over to Amazon Seller Central. You can see that over the last 7 days, this is what I've sold. So January 7th, which is about a week ago, $2,800 in revenue. Then we go to $2,700 to $2,300, $2,200, down here to $1,300, and then just yesterday back up to $2,400, and then currently $0 today. The reason why it's $0 today is because it's 12:20 a.m. So technically nothing is sold in the last 20 minutes, but I'm going to share with you some books that sold in the last couple days, and hopefully you can learn some things from these books that I share with you. We'll also talk about whether or not I think these are replens, meaning whether or not I think these are books that we can, buy and sell again for the next upcoming season. And by the way, don't worry if you missed this January textbook season, because guess what? There will be another textbook season coming up in July and August with both high school textbook season and also college textbook season. And there's also, a little bit of a May textbook season as well, not as, distinct as January and August, but there's plenty of opportunity. And guess what? Over the next couple of months will be a very good time to start buying for those other seasons as well. So, don't FOMO, don't feel like bad that you missed out. There's always going to be another opportunity. Even Christmas season that just happened. A lot of people were like, oh my gosh, I should have bought Christmas books and they didn't. Well, guess what? Christmas is coming in 2026. I'm pretty sure it's coming in 2027. Just like I'm pretty sure college students will be going to school in 2030. So again, let's dive into some of these books that I've sold in the last couple of days. And we're going to actually start with this book here called The Art of Conducting, second edition. The buy box right now is at $129. I will again show you that I did purchase these books. I'll show you proof of that. So I'll essentially show you the Amazon invoice. And then I will share with you what I sold the book for on Amazon Seller Central, so that it's undisputable. Like there's actual evidence. I bought the book here on this day for this price. I sold on Amazon for this price. And this is what the profit breakdown is. And this is how much money we're actually making. So again, July 20th of 2024, I'm going to go and click view this order. And when I do that, you can see the purchase price was $56.93. So yeah, I am spending up on this particular book. On SellerAmp, I went ahead and put in the buy price of $56.93. And I'm going to come over here and go to my orders page under Amazon Seller Central. And what you'll see is that I've actually sold this book multiple times before. I actually sold it 3 times in the August textbook season last year. So potentially I bought 4 copies and I tried to sell them all 4 last August, but maybe one of them didn't sell. That's probably what happened. The other 3 sold for $155. This one sold for $129.83. So if we put $129.83 there as the sales price, we made a $42 profit, 75% margin. And this was purchased in July. So I know a lot of people are going to be worried about storage fees. Well, if we had this in inventory for under a month, this is what the profit would be, $42.58. If we go up here to what would be 7 months, we're looking at a profit of $42.16. In other words, the fees for storage are pretty much negligible. I mean, so much to the point where I certainly don't waste any time fretting over it. It's just Amazon needs to store your books. They're going to charge you a storage fee. As long as you're sending good books in, I wouldn't worry about it at all, especially if you have books that have high average selling prices. So I made a 74% return. Again, this was a book that went right to the prep center. I use Central Virginia Prep. They then sent it to an Amazon warehouse. Amazon then picked, packed, and shipped to the customer, and they gave us a check, and we made a $42 profit. So let's actually see if we can learn anything from this particular book. So we're down here on the Keeper graph, and one thing that you'll notice is that in the last August textbook season, it did perform very well. You can actually see how the used price of this book was right around here, May, June, July, and then it went right up here in the August, September textbook season. You can also see that demand increase quite substantially. That's kind of shown with the stereotypical U-shape pattern for when sales rate gets really low because there's a lot of popularity. And then you can also see that the offer count dives down a lot. And you normally need to see the offer count dive down because that indicates that a lot of people are actually buying copies. A lot of people are no longer going to be on the listing because they sold their copy. And so those three things together show that this book did really well in the previous textbook season. You can also see how the buy box use price was essentially the same sort of pattern, just higher than the lowest use price as well. Now, the reason why I bought this in July of the previous year is because I anticipated selling all the copies there in August and September, which apparently I sold 3 out of the 4. But the cool thing about this particular book is that it doesn't just have one college textbook season. If you look back into time, does very, very well in both the January and also the August textbook season. So there's August, there's January, there's August, there's January, there's August, and then now January again. And you can see with the offer counts, it goes down and then goes back up and goes down and then back up and then down and then back up. So in other words, during the season, a lot of people are buying this book. I think that this is a book that is going to continue to do well for years to come. Why? It doesn't appear to have a new edition. And also, if we scroll down, it came out in 1991. So in other words, this is what I would consider an amazing reprint. It's a book that if I can pick it up for under $60, honestly, which I recently could have picked. Actually, I think you can pick it up for almost under $60 now. I would say that's a pretty good deal. Now, if we go and look on the offers, you can see there's a few acceptable offers there at 58. I mean, they have a pretty good feedback rating of 96%. So there's a good chance that if you bought it, this is going to be an acceptable copy, meaning that it is a book that's sellable and somebody would buy. And there's a small chance that it could be in good condition as well. So this is a book you could absolutely reprint. You'd have to buy it for a little bit more money, but the profit's there, the margin is there. And honestly, I don't think that's a bad buy at all. Picking up all 3 of those copies at $58.28 plus shipping. Again, I think based upon what this sold here in January, I think that it's again a book that's going to do well coming up in this next season. Now, it's possible that its price does get a little bit lower in May, June, July, further down the road, and so maybe you just track the book, come back to it, and pick it up for maybe, let's say, under $55 or around $50 if it ever gets there. All right, the next book that we're going to look at is An Outline of Theory and Problems of Real Variables. What I like about this college textbook is it doesn't look like it's a recently published book. Actually, it was published in 1969, but this is a book that could potentially still be used in a college setting, which is interesting. Now, this is one of those books that doesn't sell very often. Looks like it honestly doesn't even have a textbook season, even though I would still consider it a textbook based upon the information that I'm seeing there. And its lowest use price between the $35 and $50 range. Looks like I actually bought this in 2023. So I bought it in August of 2023, which is about a year and a half ago, which is, I think a lot of people would consider a long time ago. And it is. It's a year and a half ago, right? And it just now sold. Now you can see that the all-in purchase price was $12. And so if I put $12 there as the buy price, we can come down and look at what the book actually sold for in terms of price. And it looks like it just sold 7 hours ago for $50. Actually, looks like it also sold 2 months ago for $51, actually just kind of randomly during November, and then sold in the previous January textbook season for $58. So maybe another scenario where I had a copy left over, I just left it there because, again, the storage fees are pretty negligible, especially considering the margins and the average selling price being very high. So if we go and put in this selling price at $15.95 and also include storage months of over a year, or up to a year, I should say, looking at $21 profit, 170% return. And again, we had purchased other copies and sold other copies. So just a good book overall. Now, what I love about books like this that are very old is that if you look at its keeper graph and expand it over a long period of time, it always holds value, meaning its lowest use price never really gets very low. Like it's always $20, $30, or $40. That's a good indicator that it's a book that will be an awesome reprint. Again, a reprint simply meaning a book that you should always be looking to pick up and buy and sell. Almost think of it as you being a store, and you know how you keep those certain like candy bars like Kit Kats or Reese's like right near the front where people always buy them. Like this, you'd want to consider this something you always want in stock. And the cool thing about it is that it's an older book, meaning that it's not likely in the near future to ever have a new edition. I mean, it came out in 1969. I mean, my parents were only, my dad was like 7 years old. So came out a long time ago. I don't think there's a new edition of this one. And then also, I think it's going to continue to hold a pretty high price. So if it ever does get cheap again, such as getting down to $12 or maybe even $15 for that matter, I think it's a buy. All right, the next book we're going to look at, Fundamentals of Abstract Algebra, what looks to be another older book, 1996. So I would have been 2 years old when this was published, which is kind of crazy. Again, a book that doesn't sell a bunch, but a book used for college here. Looks like $55 is sort of the lowest used price over time. What I like about this particular book is that it does show periods of time of getting quite low, but also recovering and then continuing to sell at pretty high prices. In other words, there are people out there who are willing to spend significantly more for this book at certain times. And this book also doesn't sell a ton, which means at times you can get very cheap, and that's an opportunity to pick it up. Now, let's see. I must have purchased this on my other account here. Let's take a look. Yeah, you can see I purchased it April 30th of 2024. So about 8 months ago, $18.40. So we put $18.40 there as the buy cost. We come down here, look at the orders page, and you can see that $60 just sold. Now you can see again, I sold it 4 months ago for $74.49. That's one of the things that you could also take away from this video. Oh, by the way, it does say that it was refunded. So someone bought it, it got refunded, it got shipped back to me. I had to send it back in, and then I sold it again for 60. But a lot of the books that I do sell, I have multiple copies of them, because if you're picking up a book at a good price, oftentimes there might be multiple sellers competing at that lower price. And so that means you can pick up a couple of copies. Now, in this case, again, I guess I only bought one and got refunded. I had to send it back in, and you're like, well, Joji, the fees to return something are so high, and that's going to cut into all your profits. You're not going to make any money. So you are right. It is pretty hefty to get things returned to you. That's just the reality of selling on Amazon, though. So let's take a look here. This would have sat in since April. So let's just say it's 9 months. So we're down to $21.63 profit. And then let's say it cost me, $3 to get the book returned to me. And then let's say it cost me another $1 to inbound shipment. So just take $21, subtract $4. We still made a $17 profit. And guys and gals, that's one of the reasons why book selling is so awesome. It's because the margins are so high, you can literally get the item returned to you. It's still a used book, right? I mean, if you sell a used book and someone returns it, it's still a used book. So you send it back in as a used book. And sure, I made less profit, but I mean, I still made $17 profit, which would be almost 100% return my money, even after all those hoops that I have to go through. So another great pickup there. Let's go to the next one. Okay, this one, Shigley's Mechanical Engineering Design. Looks like I bought this in November of 2023. So again, I purchased this one over a year ago. Now this one we bought for $8.25, except we actually used rewards points to buy this. So a little shout out here. One way to support the channel is sign up for the Amazon Rewards Visa Signature credit card if you are doing Amazon book flips and you don't have it, because you do earn 5% back on every book that you buy, which is incredible. Meaning for every $1,000 that you spend, you get $50 back, which maybe might not seem like a lot, but if you spend $100,000 every year on books, you're getting $5,000 back just for purchasing the inventory. Now, I'm not saying, take out a credit card if you historically can't pay off, your credit card in full and on time every month. I'm also not saying just randomly and without any due diligence spend a bunch of money so you can rack up points. Like, obviously, I'm saying, hey, you're buying books anyways. Use this credit card to get 5% back on all Amazon purchases. If you do have to have a Prime membership, by the way, to qualify for the 5% back. Otherwise, it's 3% back, which is still amazing. 3% back on every purchase. But I decided to use rewards points, which is cool because, I spend so much money buying books that often I can buy a bunch of books for free. And so it just helps me to be even more profitable. So basically, we bought it for $0. By the way, I said you can support the channel. Link down below. If you want to go ahead and sign up for the credit card, I get like a small kickback, which, a small gift card that I can use to buy stuff on Amazon. And usually I buy stuff for my son. So easy way to support the channel if you want to, but plug is over. Now let's actually look at what this sold for. I'm going to look at my orders, and it looks like it sold 2 days ago for $39.19. So that gives us a $12.96 profit, 150% ROI. Wait, Joji, you bought this book a year ago. It must have cost you $50 in storage fees for this one book. But if we go to 12 months, looks like $12.36. So really, 50 cents in storage fees to keep it for a year. That is insanely good, in my opinion. That's an amazing service that Amazon's willing to provide for what I would consider a very, very, very cheap price. So $12, didn't touch the book. That was a good profit there. If we go down to the keeper graph here, there it looks like there was an opportunity here in August, September to have purchased it a little bit lower, but if you kind of go back in time, it's really not a book that has performed amazingly well. You can see that it does have January seasonality. I mean, you can see that, you had an offer count of basically 13. It went down really low. And you can see in August, September of 2024, the same thing happened as well. And also there in 2023. So it's a book that definitely doesn't sell as much, but it does sell. I mean, you can see there's a cluster of sales there and there and there and there and also there. So it does sell a couple times. I mean, its saving grace is that there's never really more than 20 people on the listing. So, if you have if you have fewer people on the listing offering the book for sale, then obviously there's less competition. The chances of you getting a higher price are more likely. But yeah, that was probably a buying opportunity there. As far as do I see this book going forward being one that could do well? Well, it looks like potentially a newer edition was just released, although it isn't an international student edition listing. An international student edition listing. It looks like it just recently came out. But as far as this book, I would just say if it gets really cheap again, if it gets $9 or $10, I don't see why not. It's a book that again I was able to sell for some pretty good money. It does have a little bit of seasonality to it. And by the way, I did buy it for $0, like I mentioned. So technically, it really was just like a $20 profit, which is pretty awesome. All right, the next book we're gonna look at is actually a CSET. This is just a practice study guide to pass the California subject examination for teachers. So you need to, you don't need to know what the book's for. All I'm trying to say is that we bought this book for $14.08. I think we bought it on the other account. And if we take a look at it, looks like we did buy it for $14.08. And now I did buy a bunch of other things here as well in this particular order, because again, this was books that were from prime sellers. So I had to get my cart value over $35 so I could qualify for free standard shipping. But yeah, $14. It's a book that over a long period of time has performed very well. Its used price is often in the 30s. Now, Amazon does sell for about $45 to $50 brand new, but as long as the used price is holding high and there's enough demand for it, there's enough sales, it's a book that will continue to do well. So yeah, bought it for $14.08. Let's see what it actually sold for. Looks like it sold for $42.99. So if we put $42.99, we made a $15 profit and 107% return on our money, which is great. All right, the last book I'm going to show you is a book that I just love. Human Anatomy and Physiology. There is a hardcover of this, which pretty much nobody can sell because it's a book that is highly counterfeited. However, loose leaves, from my experience, I very rarely have seen loose leaves that are counterfeited. Normally, it's the hardcovers or the paperbacks because those are easier to sell. And so a counterfeiter would want to sell books that are more likely to sell. So loose leaves tend to not get counterfeited from my experience. But in any case, this particular loose leaf for me always performs very well. And I definitely did pay up for it. If I look at this order on October 28th, you'll see that we bought it for $71.97. Now, here we go. If we look at the order page, this is a particular book that has so much demand, so much demand that during the season, often there is a pretty big gap between the lowest price and also the prime bump. So it looks like we sold it for $189, but again, I have tons of history selling this for any as low as $115 all the way up to $150 or $160. It just sold for $189.99. 3 days ago, also sold for $150 a week ago, sold for $140 2 weeks ago. And again, we're selling in the 160s for the August textbook season. So if we put in a $189, we made a $74 profit, 100% return. But even at the lower prices, let's say at $140, you're still making money, right? You're still selling it for about double the price you bought it for, making it a $32 profit, 45% ROA. But I just really love this book because of the fact that it does have a ton of demand. I just generally love selling loose leaves because for some reason, a lot of people don't want to sell them. They shy away from them, but I love selling loose leaves. All you have to do is put it in a poly bag. Your prep center will do that for you. And they're very simple to sell. I mean, you would think that you get more returns on it. You might get slightly more returns on them, but really not a significantly higher return rate on those. Now, again, this is a book that sells very well in January and August, and you can see that pretty clearly here with the sales rank, the stereotypical U shape there and there. Also sells pretty well in May, and you can see how that is now starting to happen here in January with the sales rank. Now, the use price also in August, September usually goes up, but also usually goes up in January. And again, because this book has so much demand, usually the buy box price is significantly higher, and that's what happened in this case. Now, do I think this is a book that is a buy going forward? Well, I do know that there is actually a newer edition of this book, which is actually not this particular book. This is just the laboratory manual. But there is the newer edition, the 12th edition to this book, Human Anatomy and Physiology. That hardcover has been out for a little while now. Although I haven't really checked to see if it has a loose sleeve. I'm sure it does have a loose sleeve. I would still think that this book is going to continue to perform well. So you can see I'm tracking here for about 40, which I don't think it's really going to get as low as, as low to 40. So I should probably increase my tracker to maybe like $60. Because again, I did spend $71 on this, but this is a college textbook that I'll be, buying multiple copies of. And yeah, ideally for a book that can sell this well and have the sales rank as low as 12,000. I mean, you could probably sell 20, 30 copies, 40 copies of this pretty easy, but it all comes down to how many are you able to buy and at what price. Can you get a good enough price to sell them and make profit? So a lot of you might be out there asking, well, how do I find all these college textbooks? Well, there's tons of ways. You can use Keep It Deals, you can use Keep It Product Finder, and you can also use Bookmine. Bookmine has a college only and a high school only filter to make, finding them incredibly easy. So I use more Bookmine now because the whole purpose of building the software is to make all of the manual searching a lot easier. So because we built Bookmine, Victor and I, that's basically done. So now we just have a better tool than just Keep a Product Finder or Keep a Deals. We have a better way to just find books faster. So now I use Bookmine when I'm specifically looking for seasonal books and also all year-round books as well. So that's a way that you can find them. And again, if you missed out on the January textbook season, while that does suck, understand that if you put in the work from now until July and August, you can also have an incredible July-August year. And there's tons and tons of opportunity for you to go out and buy these books. All we're doing now is reaping the rewards of all of our hard work. And so these are definitely not normal sales on a non-January or non-textbook basis. Usually I sell right around 700 to 1,000 on a daily basis, but we're over double that, 2.5 times that, because it's January, because we have college textbooks like the ones I mentioned, some of them which sell more quickly, some of them which sell more slowly, a lot of them, though, that are replens. So that's the name of the game, is once you start selling some of these successfully, don't forget about them, think about replenishing them for the next upcoming seasons, and continue to sell them and make money. So I'm sure you can tell by watching this video, I'm getting pretty tired. I'm making this video for all you out there so that you can see that it is still possible in 2025, I guess in 2024 as well, because I bought these books in 2024, some in 2023 as well. That it is possible to buy textbooks on Amazon, send them to an Amazon warehouse, sell them, and actually make some profit. And so if you like this content, make sure you smash the like button, leave a comment down below, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.